Doyle is going to talk about the 3 simple steps to creating a profitable business online roadmap. So I'm going to hand it over to Doyle to talk about why his beard is different to mine and everything else he's got to give you. Doyle, welcome. Good to you, friend.
Thanks, Andy. I was going to mention that. It's like I've got the mini Andy beard here. I've got a lot more wisdom to get, so I've got some growing to do. No, it's really awesome to be here. I really appreciate the invite and being able to, and thank you, Brock. I'm not sure if you're in the audience as well. Probably he's probably busy networking, all that stuff. So thank you both for allowing me to present today. And then I love the keyword that you said there was action, right? And a lot of this is about action, and a lot of digital marketing and strategy is about action. We can kind of sit back and wait for things to happen, or we can actually go ahead and do things. And my intent here is to show you some things that you can do. So at the end of this session, there's things that you can do and things that I want to give you as well. I've got some cool gifts I want to give you if you're able to stick around to the end, of course. Some worksheets, some actual maps that you can use, and some cool little strategy puzzles. Let's call it puzzles for right now, that I'll get into as I get in that. And ask the questions as well along the way. Feel free to ask some questions. I'll try to monitor the chat. I'll probably just be able to kind of go through them at the end. But I would love to kind of get an understanding, get some feedback too. I mean, one of the challenges with webinars like this is that it's me talking and there's no real feedback from the audience. So it's really important. Would love to, get some feedback. I do have some, questions that I'd like to ask you along the way, and please feel free to just pop them in the chat as well as we get into this, to kind of give me an idea of how you're doing back there. And if everybody's still awake in the back row, I think I can see you back there. So yeah, that's definitely, I can see you guys in the back row. So make sure you're paying attention as well. So I'm going to be talking about the digital challenges that we can actually go through. And I always like to start with and I'm talking about you and me, we are the digital challengers, right? So change your attitude, unfuck your head, make an honest, unsentimental accounting of your present condition. Prepare to be disappointed. Define what you want instead clearly. By clear, I mean precise and feasible. An unrealistic objective is sure to sabotage the process. Hit the books, right? Learn something, try and error, inquire, risk, mimic, insist, resist. And the question I have to ask is, are you stepping up as well? So we really need to look at that. So it's July 2021. Where are you going from here, right? We've obviously been through a lot globally in the last 18 months, but where are you going and what are you doing and how are you going to create that digital experience? How are you going to create that opportunity for you and your business online as well? As Andy mentioned, my name is Doyle Buehler. I guide digital challenger businesses in navigating the daunting digital economy and overcoming the fear, anxiety, and resistance of operating as a true digital-first company in the digital decade. I create digital pathfinders, entrepreneurs, leaders, and executives who want to make a bigger impact, get better results, and find better customers online so the world knows who you are and wants to do more business with you. This is all part of what I call the digital expedition, but this is actually one of the first steps before we get there. So put that in place. It's like, how do we actually, and I'm going to talk quickly about this digital expedition, but then I'm going to get into the fundamentals of what we're going to talk about today. But we need to understand how this all fits together and how all these pieces are there and how we can actually make them work and how we can act upon that. Big question you're probably asking is like, why? Why do I want to go online, right? And basically, fundamentally, it comes down to you're already sitting on a mountain of your value. We're not saying that you need to recreate everything. You don't have to redesign the wheel, you reinvent the wheel, whatever you want to call it. You already have a lot of value within you and within your business. It's just a matter of pulling that out and extracting that value and presenting it as well in a way that we can actually, that your audience can understand how you do that. And I call it a journey of discovery and opportunity. And we want to be able to move from, step one at the beginning, overcome some pains, obstacles, and frustrations, which I'm going to get into, and then make it to the digital promised land, right? And I'd love to hear from you. If you've got, fingers available on your chat, what does that digital promised land look like to you, right? Why are you doing this? Why are you online? And I'm assuming you're a service-based business, potentially a product-based business. you're trying to use online to make it work for you. You're trying to leverage it so that you can understand it and so that your audience can see you. You're trying to create more impact, more traction, that sort of thing. Why are you here, right? Why are you online? So what does the digital promised land look like to you? You know, if you've got 5 seconds, just please put it in the chat. I'd love to see what you have to say about that. It's not easy, right? Let's be perfectly honest, but it's going to be worth it. Now, in the last 18 months or so, the online world has been shifting, and I guess it's beyond 18 months as well, but we've really seen this compressed quite remarkably, dramatically as well in the last 18 months. We've been focusing on some of the strategies that haven't actually been working very well, right? We've been focusing on how many clicks we get, but we really need to shift our strategies to make sure that every click counts as well. And I want to just quickly present, where is this digital economy and what the heck am I talking about that? And what are the changes that we've been seeing as well? This comes from the concept of what's called a digital adoption or penetration. This is basically the amount of businesses, and again, these are not just e-commerce based stores and retail, but also service-based business as well. How many businesses are actually able to engage an audience online? Well, guess what? Pre-COVID, about 15%. During COVID, we reached a peak of about 35%, and since then it's dropped down. These statistics are from the UK and the US. It's very, very similar as well in Australia. And actually, I should have mentioned that I am talking to you from Australia, and I do have, actually, if somebody can guess my accent, you'll win a prize. So put that in the chat. And I'll grab that question later. But we're seeing the peak at 35%. And when you think about it, there's been a lot of activity towards online, towards service delivery, towards e-commerce, all that kind of stuff, right? Why is it only at 35%? How long has the internet been around? How long have websites been around? How long have businesses been able to be online? And I know all businesses aren't 25 years old, but we've been able to develop, or we've been able to have access to the global web for 25 plus years. So what are we doing with that? In this case, it looks like not a lot. If they're only 35% could be a peak. The really exciting part is that those businesses that have leveraged, that have pivoted, that have decided they're going to change their strategy, they're going to adjust for the current market conditions, they've seen about 35% of growth in 2 quarters. Okay, and that can be phenomenal. So you're talking about massive growth, 5 to 7 years of growth in the last 6 months of 2020. So what does that mean? That means that there's a tremendous opportunity here, but we do have to see it and we do have to navigate it. And that's where the roadmap comes into place, is how do we actually understand these pieces that we need to be able to put in place? So we're at 20 to 30% digital adoption penetration right now. And to me, it's like, that's it, right? That's it. Is that the best that we can do? Again, the industry is young. It's 25 years, but within that time, even if you're a business of less than 5 years, you should be almost 75% or more completely being able to deliver your product, your service online. So I'd love to get an idea from where are you guys at right now? So where do you think you are in terms of what I call the digital leadership scale, from 0% penetration to 100% digital adoption penetration? So where do you think you fit in that curve? Please put in the number in the chat, and it'll give us something to discuss coming up. So where are you? What are you missing out on? A lot, right? We talk about growth, we talk about business, we talk about, you know, getting out of a rut, we talk about how can we actually do things better, how can we leverage what we're doing. We need to apply that, we need to action, and that was one of the key concepts that we started with at the beginning as well. So, simple question, right? Are you really committed? So where are you right now with your business right now? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the pains? What are some of the good things as well that you're able to leverage, that you're excited about, that you've found a new market, that you've been able to connect with more people, that you've been able to create more impact, right? Where are you right now in your business right now? So please, again, love to hear that in the chat if you can. We need to get you committed to enabling, to leveraging what you already have. And again, you're sitting on this mountain of value. We want to make sure that we can actually leverage that for you. 100% commitment is easier than 98% commitment. When you fully commit to something, the decision has been made, right? Do you guys agree with that? Yeah, so we need to step into this. We need to say online, digital is where I need to focus my energy. It's where I need to focus my attention as well. But of course, being a business, online isn't easy. Again, it doesn't matter if you're a service-based business or a retail or products or whatever the case may be. It's not easy. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of confusing. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of things that we have to deal with that it's like, maybe I'll just kind of wait for that and see what happens. But guess what? We can't do that anymore. We can, however, make it simpler by understanding some key strategies, some ways of understanding the problems, understanding the challenges, understanding the frustrations. We can actually put in place a system that works and helps and supports us along the way as well. So it's there, right? We're not asking you to recreate your business. We're saying you've got a great business, you've got a great idea. Let's tweak it, and let's fully engage it in the digital economy as well. So I talked briefly at the beginning about digital expedition, right? And just to make a quick comparison of how this fits and kind of so you can see the whole lay of the land and that sort of thing. One of the things that we think about when we're enabling digital and when we're enabling our online marketing and our strategies and that sort of thing is, are we here as a safari or as an expedition, right? And one of the things that we need to look at is how committed are you to that process? If it's something that you're just kind of, oh yeah, we'll browse and we'll look over here and we'll look over there and, you know, look at the tigers over here and there, that's fine. But where are you going to get with that? That's what I would call a safari, right? We're just seeing, we're observing, we're seeing, we're not discovering and doing. And that's the difference between a safari and an expedition. Like I said, digital is hard, online is hard. So unless you kind of frame it around how do we actually create that process, how do we create that deeper understanding, that's through an expedition. And even compare great expeditions of the past, right? Were they a great expedition or a so-so safari, right? The moon landing, that was definitely a technological expedition. Exploration of the Arctic and Antarctica, those were very, very difficult and challenging expeditions. Not everybody survived when they first started going there. Or even something like the flight across the Atlantic. The point is that these start with something fundamental. These don't start at the base of Mount Everest, right? These don't start at the launch pad in Florida in the U.S., right? They actually had to step back months and months and years or whatever the time frame is, and create a roadmap. Create an understanding of, okay, well, how do we actually even start this expedition, right? If we just jump into it, if I said, hey, we're going on an expedition tomorrow to Mount Everest, I guess it doesn't really matter. Would you be ready? And you look at me and go, I'm not going to Everest tomorrow, right? Are you crazy? So we have to understand that there's some steps that we need to get there. And that's why I say this roadmap comes leading up to the expedition. If you want to talk expedition, that's for another discussion for another day. And I would love to be able to come back and share it with everybody here as well. But in the meantime, we have to look at it for right here, right now. What do we need to do to solve this, right? What do we want? Where do we want to go? Fundamentally, we need to amplify our growth through online. We see this thing called online marketing or online business, and to a lot of people it's portrayed as, oh, it's the rags to riches story, and it's the ultimate opportunity and that sort of thing. There is definitely opportunity there, but we have to decide what that is, right? We can't just go and willy-nilly and try this and try that. We have to be able to formulate it into a plan so we know where we're going. We know what obstacles will potentially come upon, and we understand the ones that we don't understand right now. At least we're aware of them, right? So what brings you here? Where do you want to go? The three reasons that I've heard an awful lot: play a bigger game online, right? Remove revenue roadblocks. You've gotten to this level. How do you get to that next step? We talk about, getting to that next level. That's one of those opportunities there that you can certainly do. And we want to smash that glass ceiling with the growth as well. It can be limiting, if we don't play it properly, if we don't play a bigger game, if we don't understand the actual what's holding us back, and the frustrations as well, and the pains and problems and that sort of thing. So those are really, really critical here. So what are the top 3 biggest obstacles and pain of operating your business online? And again, I'd love to hear what you have as well. So if you got some time in the chat, please tell me, what are your top 3 biggest obstacles or pain of operating a business online? These are the ones that I regularly come across. No impact, no traction, right? You're doing a lot of stuff, but not much is really happening. Limited resources, wasting time, wasting money. It's a matter of deciding, okay, well, where does the money go? How do I spend it? How do I build a budget for that? But it's an issue, right? And the third one is no organization, no structure, confusing, and being overwhelmed as well. So what are your biggest obstacles and frustrations? I'd love to hear yours in the chat as well. So what comes next is, what are the top 3 frustrations? And we're going to go in a couple levels deep here. So to hopefully bring out exactly what we want to kind of put together as well at the end. So what's getting in your way? Fundamentally, frustrations, right? Overwhelmed by options. There's a lot to do out there. There's a lot you can do, but underwhelmed by implementation. It's like, I don't know what to do next. I don't know where to start. So it can be very, very difficult to being able to get a good start, a good solid start in your roadmap. But I've isolated these into 3 fundamental frustrations: being fragmented, right? Small pieces that don't seem to work very well together. It doesn't feel like it is working in unison like a well-running engine. It shows up as seemingly disparate landing pages and digital assets, no overall campaign, strategy, or structure. Things are kind of broken up. There also can be fractured, right? Feels like things are broken between online and offline, or what is being done online. It doesn't feel connected or continuous. This shows up as no sales, no processes, or a very, very rocky journey. And then the last frustration is friction, resistance to moving forward with a plan, or being uncertain of what to do. Feels like there's no compatibility, or that there is something slowing you down. Have you ever gotten in the car and you're driving and it's like, this thing isn't moving? Like, it's what's going on? And you look down, it's like, oh, the park brake is still on. So that's friction. And that happens in business, right? And it's important to understand, to be able to understand and recognize that, oh, wait, the parking brake's still on. I need to turn that off. So this shows up when you're getting ahead of yourself. You've got limited strategy, mindset, and the choices that you make, right, are very, very important as well. You'll see a lot of these. What I'm going into in depth as well is triangles, okay? And triangles are a very powerful tool. I actually missed it. Well, that was the reference at the top with the mountain, was that these are very, very powerful structures. And I think they're my first or second love are triangles. My second love is like Venn diagrams. So anyway, I've got a passion for creating triangles that display an infinite amount of choices. And I'm going to show you how you can actually make this work as well for your business. So what does this look like? Again, fractured is not always organized, no real structure to rely on, confusion as to what button to push, overwhelm on what to do, deciding on what to do next, knowing where you want to go, etc., etc. Being fragmented, what does this look like? It's uninspiring because of uncertainty. There's little impact, there's no traction, there's no conversions. And then friction, that's exhibited by unconfidence in overall skills and competencies, no reliable results, little resources in alignment, wasting time, wasting money, little trust as well, finding the right people for the right job, and then getting into that hard selling. And we all know that nobody really likes doing that. So how do we overcome that? It's pretty simple, actually. We do the opposite. And I'll show you in the next slide. But these are the 3 things that are very, very important to overcoming those frustrations. And I'll show you how they fit in the next one. But we want to look at, how are we being capable? We want to look at, how are we being compelling? And we want to look at, how are we being confident? And when I say being, I'm talking about you, but I'm also talking about the business and what you do and how you do it as well. So you can interchange them between you if you're looking at this from sort of the personal branding side of things, or if you're looking at it more for the business side of things, offer my service business offering or my e-commerce offering or that sort of thing. We need these 3 capabilities to be able to overcome these frustrations. And that's the key part here, is that without them, we're just our heads are down and we're dealing with our frustrations, but guess what? We're not doing anything about it. So what do we need to do? Let's call it doing opposite day, right? Every day is opposite day. So if things are being fractured, what's the problem? How do we solve it? We become more capable. If things are looking fragmented, that's the frustration, that's the problem. How do we overcome that? We're being compelling. And if the problem and frustration is friction, what does that mean we need to do? We need to develop confidence as well in digital and online. And ultimately, within the triangle, this is what we need to develop. This is where we're headed. We're headed towards our growth pathway strategy roadmap. We want to have something that's easy, something that we can do, and something that's simple, what I call strategic simplicity. This is where we're headed, the growth pathway strategy roadmap, by being capable, being compelling, and being confident. Does that make sense so far? Love to hear what you're thinking, how things are going with you, listening, and that sort of thing. And if you do have some questions, hopefully I'll be able to address them at the end. So please feel free to pop them in there now. So let's dive into this a little bit more. So what does this feel like? So being capable, let's talk about that again. If things are fractured, what do we need to do? We need to look at how are we being capable. And how do we actually do that? Well, number one is customer journey feels harmonized. The story's there. We understand the steps that our customer needs to go through. Number two, our sales process feels methodical. We have a sales process in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, we don't, and that's what causes the frustration. We also have a digital toolbox that actually feels organized, that feels good. And it's like, yeah, I've got my tools and I can actually do things. So again, when we're feeling fractured, we want to look at how are we being capable, and these are the specific ways that we can be capable as well. Let's look at the next one. So what does this feel like when we're seeing friction? How do we overcome that? By being confident. How do we develop confidence in this? Number one is measuring and responding with data and experience. A lot of us, we have access to almost an immeasurable amount of data out there, but guess what? We don't always use it. Some of you do, obviously, and there are exceptions, but what could you do if you were able to manage that data a little bit better, a little bit easier? Number two, using your business knowledge for action, including digital. And this is something that I call your digital genius. And this doesn't mean that you have to be an online expert, a digital guru, whatever you want to call it, right? It just means that you have to understand the pieces that are in play. You have to understand how the roadmap works. You have to understand how the strategy works, obviously, but you don't need to implement this. This is where your team comes into place, right? This is where they can implement for you because they have those specific skills. So we don't need to do everything. We just have to understand, how does this strategy fit together? How does this roadmap help my business? And how do we get people along the way, which I'm going to show you, to be able to do this and to implement it as well. And the third one is understanding and streamlining your processes. A lot of the friction is caused by things that we're trying to do better, but we don't know actually how to make them better. So we have to look at, what does that mean? What's causing this friction? Where is it? What can we actually streamline? What can we make it better? How do we make it easier for our customer? Right? Amazon was they brought in like the single click purchase, where once you've got everything set up, you want to buy something, you click it and away you go. Have you ever been to those sites where it takes like multiple steps and you have to fill out multiple forms to get to where you want to go? Again, whether it's a service event or something like that. We want simplicity. We want streamlined as a customer. All right, and the third one, what does this feel like? Being compelling. The frustration is fragmented. How do we solve that? We solve that by being compelling. How do we become compelling? There's three ways. Number one is magnifying and elevating your continuous digital customer experience. And this is absolute key here with the customer experience. We have to look at, what experience are they expecting online? What experience can we deliver online? And is there a match, right? Are we able to actually deliver that to our customer, to our audience? Because if we can't, they're going to go elsewhere to somebody who can deliver an experience. And it can be as simple as The way the site is built, it can be as simple as having those steps to get that person booked for a meeting even, very, very simple stuff. Or it can be very complicated too, like a streaming service or like, arts and entertainment or music and that sort of thing, and deciding how do you integrate Zoom, for example, or how do you integrate online events to your audience also. So it's very, very important to look at how do you actually deliver that customer experience online. Number two, building relevant digital assets that connect with your audience. So these are, again, parts of your tools. These are digital assets, or those tangible products that you can produce. Those, whether it's it could be as simple as a website, or it could be a tool. It could be like a quiz, an assessment tool, a learning platform. It could be a video series. It could be some branding strategies. It could be a whole bunch of assets that bring value. I told you, I said at the beginning, you're coming to us today, you're coming to this today with a lot of value, right? So that's your value. How do you actually harness that? And how do you actually connect that with your audience so that they can use that, so that they can engage in that, they can leverage that as well. And number three, connecting your online and offline environments and ecosystem together. So there seems to be this big chasm, and this is where the fragmentation comes from. It's like, well, I'm an offline business, right? I'm a coach or consultant, and everything I do is offline kind of thing, which is great, but the opportunity exists for you to be able to connect the online with the offline. Wouldn't it be cool if you could have customers from around the world, or across your state, or around the block even? You can do that, but you have to have those environments and that ecosystem set up so it's working for you, so that you're able to leverage that specifically for it, so that it keeps you moving, and it creates that compelling nature of, hey, I want to deal with you because you've been able to create this unfragmented process that I can enjoy, that I see, and this is what I like, and this is what I can do with you. So how do we unroll this? Okay, again, I talked about strategic simplicity. This is where we're headed, the growth roadmap. We want to amplify the growth. We have our strategy, strategic simplicity. We have a savvy strategy, which is a smart digital strategy. We have all these things that we need to put together so that we can actually see what we're doing. Okay, and what does that imply? I've been saying it multiple times along the way. That big R word in the middle, a growth roadmap. So if we take all these elements and we represent it into a model that says, what are the steps that we need to say? You're probably thinking, well, he's been talking about an awful lot of things, right? Let's simplify this. Let's create a digital business GPS, a growth pathway strategy roadmap. Let's make it easy. Let's all go, whew, okay. I don't have to worry about the complexity of the strategy. I can look at the simplicity of it. Okay, and we start down here being capable. This is a roadmap, literally and figuratively, right? This is both, all combined. As I said, how do we become capable? Well, I've got 3 steps that we talked about, and I'm going to outline them shortly, so don't worry. You don't have to write them down or remember them. But there's 3 steps here that I talked about. What comes next? Well, we want to be confident, right? Are you creating and causing this friction? We have 3 steps as well that I talked about. And are we being compelling? Are you getting to where you want to go? Are you bringing your customer to where you want to go? And there's 3 steps for that as well. So it's just simply taking these ideas, rearranging them, and saying, how do we actually put them together? How do we use them? So this is a worksheet, a canvas that I'd actually like, if you want to take a screenshot, go for it. But this is where you can actually detail out. So we have the 3 steps: being capable, being confident, being compelling. And then we have each of these little roadhouse stations along the way for each of these as well. And those are what we talked about. How do you make your customer journey feel harmonized? How do you make your sales process feeling methodical? How do you make your digital toolbox to feel more organized? Right? Remember that first triangle? That was the one. The second triangle, how do we measure more with your data and experience? How will you use your business knowledge for action? How can you streamline your processes with automations and planning? And then the third one was being compelling. How are you magnifying digital customer experience? What relevant digital assets are you building or using? And how are you connecting your online and offline environments and ecosystems? So again, this is part of the gift, and I'll send you a PDF copy of this. at the end of this, so that you can actually go through and fill that in. Tell us, tell yourself, tell your business, tell your partners, tell your staff, this is how we are being capable. These are the 3 criteria. This is how we specifically are being capable. This is how we're being confident. This is how we're being compelling as well. So we take those pieces together, we add them in. Guess what? We've got a fantastic little roadmap, a little curly-whirly highway that goes from step 1 all the way up to step 9. These are all of the elements that we just spoke about here, and these are all the elements that we spoke about previously as well. I'm not adding anything new. I'm just saying, hey, let's take a breath. Let's actually see how does this fit in a linear fashion so that we can actually do something with it. If I gave you 9 things to do, this becomes more like a bingo, right? But the important thing is I want you to take this in step, in order, because that's how you're going to get the maximum results for this type of activity as well. This is why things are confusing, because we have these 9 3x3 matrix and bigger of different activities that we're supposed to do, but it's like, where do I start? There's so many darn things to worry about. I'm telling you, start at number 1, go 1, 2, 3, start at category 2, being confident, start at being compelling, number 3 as well. Go through that. This will create your roadmap. Pretty easy, right? Where are we headed with this? The ultimate goal, and again, I asked you this is very specific for each and every one of us out there, right? How are you going to develop your savvy and enduring online growth call to action? So why are you in business? What is it about? How does it work? What is your ultimate goal as well? And you always have to be headed towards that ultimate goal. That's why we have a roadmap. We don't go traveling, even if it's something in our head, we don't go traveling without an understanding of where we're going, right? Like if you get in, even if it's to the shops or whatever the case may be, you always spend some time thinking about where am I going and what am I going there for and how am I going to get there and what am I going to get when I'm there. And as I'll get into the expedition, getting there is only half the battle. We also have to get back as well. So make sure that you have your online growth call to action. Okay, what is it specifically? Where are you headed? What do you want from all of this? If it is revenue, if it is growth, if it is market share, if it is, staff size or revenue or that sort of thing, put it in your roadmap. Tell your business, this is where we're headed. This is what we're going to be doing. This is how we're going to do it as well. All right, so how do we enroll this even further? Right? We took a couple of deep dives here to get into how we're actually going to do this. And this is actually what I feel is one of the parts that really kind of ties it together nicely. So we talked about, again, the center triangle is your growth pathway strategy. This is your roadmap. This is where we're headed. This is your goals, your objectives. We talked about if we're having problems, we overcome. If we're having fractured problems, we overcome them with being capable. If we're having fragmented problems, we overcome them by being compelling. And if we have friction problems, we overcome them by being confident. So remember how we started? We started with what? Triangles. I told you how much I love triangles because they can actually put things together quite nicely. If you stack all of these 3 triangles together, or 4 of them, because there's the center one, right? Remember this diagram over here. So being capable, we've got the 3 little stations that we have to stop along the way. For being confident, we have the 3 little stations, 4, 5, and 6. For being compelling, we have the 3 little stations that we need to go through as well, 7, 8, and 9. And all around this, we understand that this is our growth pathway strategy. This is where we're headed. We overcome our being fractured. We overcome being fragmented. We overcome friction as well. So what do you get when you stack 4 triangles together? This is a maths question, so you might have to answer it. Any guesses? What happens when you create 4 triangles and stack them onto one another? You actually get what's called a tetrahedron. And in this case, I call it a stratahedron because this defines your strategy. And I'm going to get into that shortly. But what you actually are able to do is take all those 4 different triangles, right? Assemble them together. And here's the fun part. The triangle in the middle, you're able to cut it out. And through the magic of webinars, you're actually able to create this. This is your digital roadmap as what I call a stratahedron. So it takes all 4 elements of all the 4 different triangles, it puts them together, you're able to print it out, create, fold this up, create it into, stack it up into a stratahedron. And this is quite powerful because then you can actually look at it fundamentally in terms of how do I actually solve those business problems. So how do I solve being fractured? How do I solve being fragmented? And how do I solve being friction? I can just simply look at each of these sides. So this becomes my 3-dimensional representation of my roadmap, of my savvy strategy. Quite simple. So that's what we get. If we stack all these triangles together, you're actually able to produce this stratahedron, which can actually help simplify your strategy. That's what I said at the beginning, is it is hard, but if we simplify it into this little object, we can actually use it. We can compare where we are, what we want to do, how we want to do it. We can pass this to our business partners, our staff, and say, look, this is what our business strategy is fundamentally about. It's something quite easy and quite amazing that we can actually do with it. So we're able to create those 3D strategy maps based on this, and this is what I call the stratahedron. So I want to encourage you to take a look at this and say, what's my digital challenge? Like right now, we've got a lot going on, and you know, it's around the world. It's not necessarily the same everywhere, but it's a difficult challenge. So I want to challenge you and everybody as part of your team to say, what can we be doing different? Challenge is another word for opportunity for a lot, right? What does your next 90-day plan have? So as the world adapts and changes, businesses need to adapt, change, and transform with the times, and that requires digital, the knowledge of knowing what your customer's doing, how they're doing it, and what they want to do as well. So I showed you at the beginning, there was like 35% of growth in 6 months in the last half of 2020. You know, what are you missing out on? It's about if you can adapt your strategy to be able to be where your customer wants you to be able to be. So challengers should see this as a time for tremendous opportunity as well. So just to wrap up, this challenge starts now, right? And I've got some 4 good gifts for you if you're curious about what you'd like your new roadmap strategy to look like. So it's pretty easy. Start here, go to the business global growth pathway strategy, bit.ly/business GPS. If you go there within the next 24 hours to find out, I'll send you the following. I'll send you a special customized roadmap report, which outlines where you fit within those 9 criteria, those 9 pieces of that triangle, of those triangles. I'll send you a roadmap diagram, a roadmap of a roadmap via email. I will send you the stratahedron, which you can print out. And then if you want, you can cut it out. And then if you want, you can fold it up. And you'll be able to do that. And as well, I'll also give you access to build your own stratahedron, just a simple access code. So you can actually try building your own roadmap for your business, because there is going to be some variations. There are going to be some differences. This just sets up a template, right? Everything ultimately has to be personalized. Everything needs to be customized to what you're doing and how you're doing it. And that's what's ultimately important here. So head to bit.ly/business GPS. And again, those are capital letters. Actually, I got to put that where that's in the offers. There we go. There you go. Make it easy. Something cool that you can actually do. Publish. Let's go this. So the link should be there on the side. So click the link. You do have to finish that. You do have to allow it to send you that email. Otherwise, it's not going to work and you're not going to get it. But feel free to reach out if you do need to get in touch as well. I'm obviously on LinkedIn and can be reached there also. So just want to quickly wrap up. I think I'm pretty much finished. So I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. I'm telling you it's going to be worth it. This is what I call your growth pathway strategy, your roadmap, your business. It's scalable if you have a plan, if you have a roadmap, if you have a strategy, if you have a flight plan, right? So let's get organized. Let's do something different and let's make this thing work.